Hello, I'm your host Dorothy Mashburn, and welcome to Salary Negotiations Made Simple. Here I show you how negotiating does not have to be overwhelming. I break the entire process of negotiating into easy-to-learn steps that you can use in any salary negotiation situation. Whether you're starting a new job or preparing to ask for a raise, expect to receive practical, actionable strategies that are based on real-life experiences. I'll be sharing tips that have been proven to work, where professionals like you have netted anywhere from $10,000 to $75,000 more in compensation. It's payment for the skills you already bring, so you need to know how to ask for payment for that value. Are you ready to learn how to boost your earnings? Let's dive in. We have the privilege of welcoming Julie Michelle Morris to our podcast today. Julie is a thought leadership trainer and partners with women thought leaders who are the face of their corporate or personal brand. With 20 years of communication and thought leadership experience partnering with leaders from Amazon Web Services, Salesforce, World Economic Forum, Aspen Institute, founders, authors, leaders across philanthropy, cybersecurity, and other fields, Julie speaks and trains in personal PR across the country. She hosts high-profile conversations on her podcast, How to Thought Leadership. Hi, Julie. How are you today?
I'm doing well, and I'm thrilled to get to be here with you.
Absolutely. Would love to get an introduction in your words. Who you are, what do you do, how do you help?
Absolutely. So I'm Julie Morris. I have worked in this field of quote unquote thought leadership now for about 13 years. I have the best job ever. I get to find incredible women, men and women, but mostly women, because they can get a little vulnerable with this stuff. It's not easy to sit down and figure out why you're afraid to put yourself out there. But I get to sit down with them and help drag the genius out of their head and help them figure out, well, how does it go out in a LinkedIn post? How does it go out to help make the world a better place? And so it's funny, we're all figuring out, what is social media? How am I supposed to go and affect change? I want to have an impact. I know I've done all this stuff, between you got a great job. Wonderful. You have lived experience. Awesome. Let's take all of that and this cool intersection of you, what you love, what you hate, what makes you angry, what fires you up, everyone who's ever mentored you, what you like to do when you have spare time, whatever that is. But all of that becomes your thought leadership, and I get to help people figure that out and put it out there.
Yeah, when I saw your LinkedIn and your How to Thought Leadership, I thought that was so brilliant. Everything about it was like, yep, I want to know this person. So how did you get there? Can you kind of talk about your journey?
Absolutely. So I didn't go to school for marketing or thought leadership or any of that, right? When I was in school, there were barely cell phones. And so I went to school for economics. I worked in corporate, philanthropy, education. And in everywhere I went, all of those instances, putting it out there was the last thing on the list. It was like, just do the work. Let's do the work. And then come about, I was, I think, like 30. And we had just moved here to Texas, where I live now. And I was driving an hour into Dallas, our local metroplex, for work. And I remember thinking to myself as I was pulling into a parking lot, freaking out because I was late that day, I will never clock in again. I was super pregnant. It was insanely hot. And I just thought, what kind of stupid is this? Where we have to show up and clock in as if we were 5. And so I decided to start doing the thing that I saw everybody do kind of badly, which was put themselves out there through marketing. But then marketing doesn't often work. We want marketing to produce a result, but nobody wants to be marketed to. When was the last time you clicked on an ad for anything? I mean, once I did on a bathing suit because I thought it was super cute, but nobody does that. We do want to learn from each other. So if I can get some nonprofit CEO to sit down and actually get out of his head everything he's created, no, he's never going to want for funding, right? It's like, just tell people what you know, show them you care. I like to call it serve at scale. Just go serve. And so that is how I got here.
That's so powerful because for you to realize that, was there any mentor or somebody who gave you that kind of confidence to say, this is stupid, like, why am I doing this? I can be doing X, Y, and Z.
I'm sure that there have been mentors that showed me that. I think I had a number of strong women that I looked to that maybe just knew who they were. But I was born with this, my middle name should have been like, someone should do something, or, system change idea. I was like, why are we doing it this way? This makes no sense. There's even like a law that says, well, you should only walk on this side of the street, or there's a sign. It's like, but why? But why? And so I could drive my husband, who's an intense rule follower, absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Tell us a story about time when you started questioning the why, and then you said, I'm going to put myself out there. Tell us how that confidence or self-talk went in your own head. How did you get yourself there?
That's a great question. I do it so much now that it's become second nature, but it never used to be. I hated public speaking for most of my life. Right before the pandemic, I had hit this point where I knew that because of that absolute fear and terror of public speaking, that I had to do something about it. And so you start looking around and thinking, okay, Toastmasters, or, what are the ways that you can get over this between what would happen in my body, like when I would start to speak up and use my voice. I mean, whether it was some small group thing or an actual presentation, time after time after time, I had shown myself that it was not safe to do that, to put myself out there, to stand up and do public speaking. So I knew that I had hit a wall. I was trying to teach clients how to do public speaking, and I did it, there was just enough that I was afraid I was going to point them in the wrong direction. So during the pandemic, there was this thing called Clubhouse. I'm not sure if social audio, but social audio was an amazing chance for me to stand here, in my office, pacing around, holding this phone, trying to figure out how to not choke on my words, how to get them out of my brain, how to form thoughts in the moment. And I realized it wasn't that I was bad at public speaking. I just had not had any practice. It was just figuring out that, like, you have to put in the reps. I think it was, what is his name? He's this top swimmer, has all these gold medals. And he, they would say, well, how are you so successful at swimming? And he said, I would stay in the pool longer than everybody. And that's, put in the laps, put in the reps, fumble, have it fail 10 times, 20 times, but then it starts to get easier. And you can pick up some trips and techniques and all this stuff because so many other people out there are putting their genius out there online. And with a couple of searches, you can find a video of someone teaching you how to do the thing you want to do. It's a very exciting time to be alive for reasons like that.
Yeah, I love it. One of your podcasts, you said you start a lot of your sentences with so, right? And I think, and you already got over that between that podcast and today. I don't hear a so at all.
It's trying to be there.
Yeah. I put in a lot of filler words as well when I'm thinking. It's like, I just need to stop talking,
Absolutely, but it's hard. It's really all hard. Our journey. It's all hard.
Yeah. I like your thought process because you didn't go, oh, I'm terrible at public speaking, I'm just not going to do it. You just started questioning and being curious as to why.
Well, I mean, I did avoid it for a long time. I did try to say, well, it's like people say, work on your strengths, not your weaknesses. Like, just hire out for those. Well, some things you can't hire out for. And I think the moment where you need to be there for yourself, like kind of like this idea of negotiation, where the only person who can advocate for you is you.
Yeah.
And you have to show up for you. You don't want to miss that. Like, there's only so much you can outsource.
Absolutely. And thanks for segueing into that. I have a question for you regarding one of the things that I constantly see with my clients or my friends who I've helped develop a negotiation strategy, either for their next promotion or the salary that they have or a new job offer. There's a lot of fear. I call it you're fearing leaving the matrix because you've been programmed to stay in the matrix. But a lot of it is What will they think of me? What if they say, okay, I gave you this, you can't hack it, so you can take a lower position? Is it self-talk? Is it true? What are you seeing in your client base or your community, and what do you do to help them?
Oh, it is really hard. Every single person that I work with or talk to about any of this stuff, they have a story. And that story usually includes incidences where something within corporate, the world of work, has told you either just by passing you over for promotion that you fully deserved, or by, like to your point, demotion, or to taking responsibilities away from you, or in the middle of a room like had happened to me, and I'm sure to anyone listening at some point, just sit down. You have nothing to say right now, nothing to contribute right now. Just stop, like an interruption, something like that has happened to show you, to tell you that you don't have anything to contribute. And that sucks. It just is where we are. We have allowed workplaces to have culture that is very destructive. We have allowed poor behavior for a long time in the name of profit, in the name of production, in the name of, we just need to get the work done. And we've put people last, or second to last, or at least far enough down the list that bad behavior is allowed. And so here we are today, where now we're supposed to be unafraid to advocate for ourselves. One of the best things about thought leadership is that it is in the room before you get there. You don't have to be doing nearly the level of pushing for what you want and what you're worth, because it's already patently obvious to anyone who looks that you have what it takes. And we want that. We don't want you to have to try it in the moment to prove that you know what you're doing. A track record isn't enough. It only is if people know about it, and you get to control the narrative through your platform, which a lot of it is LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And so we want to be having you do that all the time, putting yourself out there on LinkedIn, like all the time. So it becomes just an easy thing to do, because like for me in the morning, every day I try to get out my phone and I'm still bundled up in blankets, typing out my post and the thing I want to teach that day. And then I do it and I drop it and I move on. And it's easy now. And I'm used to showing up that way. If I know what my thought leadership framework is, and I know I have enough elements of personal brand figured out that I can put it on like a jacket, it's still fully me. And I can go and be exactly who it is I want to be. Then I don't have to do all that work alone.
Mm-hmm. What do you do when there are detractors to say, presumably even on LinkedIn, as professional as it mm-hmm. is, there are people who are trash talking or people who try to bring you down, or what do you say to yourself?
So LinkedIn to me is this place where I want it to feel like it's safe. So if you were to come over to my LinkedIn post for today and you see some comment that's just a little bit weird, mm-hmm. well, to me, that makes you, the person who I actually want to hear from, unlikely to stick around. It's like, I want to leave. This is cringy. This is weird. And so I do not hesitate at all to delete any weird comment when I get one. It is not a place to, like, what I want from my LinkedIn is for someone to come there and feel like it is safe to learn. That's what it is all about for me. And so it's like if you were to have someone come onto your porch at home when you invite them over and they leave trash everywhere, it's like, sweep that trash off and make it a safe place and a welcoming place that you don't have to wonder if someone's going to be freaked out and leave. So yeah.
Would you say that you ignore or push that bad thought or the thought that is detracting you from your journey away, or?
100%. I am really careful about what I think about. I'm really, really careful that I don't spend time freaking out over what could go wrong. I want to be thoughtful around where are the things that may not be ideal and how do I build towards something better. But an hour of freaking out will cost you a couple of weeks sometimes in trying to get that thought framework out of your brain. So one time I tried it, literally one time I tried it since starting my business. My husband was really concerned, like, oh my gosh, if we go that direction with work, like this could go wrong and this could go wrong. And normally I just brush it off and I just keep moving because I'm so certain about what I'm doing. And that's just the only way I've found to be. But I thought, well, what if it did go wrong? It ate me alive. And it just, all the confidence that I had about even how I show up with clients, it pulled through how I parented that night. It kept me awake in the middle of the night. It was so destructive and it was so fast how it just grew. It's like a weed, and to uproot all that mess. I am so certain about what I bring to the table, not because I feel so certain, but because it is a decision. I have decided this is how I am going to be. I am going to get this done. I'm going to serve and I'm going to make a difference. End of story. It helps a lot.
I love that, because I was just thinking about how are you able to brush it off? And I think we are scratching the surface on your, as Simon Sinek says, your why. So what is your why?
I get to get out of bed every day and sit down in front of people who have been afraid to say what they think. They're most of career, and it's usually comes from a place of pain. When we hit pain, very often we stop growing in that area. So I know for me, I was probably 12 years old, and I would go and I would spend lunch times at school hiding in the bathroom because I had no friends. And that reinforced everything else that was hard. And so if I can help somebody else move past and get their feet moving through a place of pain, they get healed in a whole lot of different ways. It's amazing. It's not just, hey, I want you to go put a post out on LinkedIn. It's all of a sudden you see who you really are, and you're able to move past a lot of what's happened.
That's definitely powerful. There's no other word for it. And I can see why then you don't waver from that, because that has so much meaning.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, so for ideas, though, one thing that has been really hard for me, that I would say that like pain has happened, is in negotiation. I don't think that I've ever felt confident. Like I can advocate for almost anything else. I have found that when it was time, for example, to like increase my pricing for the service that I provide, it was difficult. And finally now I get to the point where we're so busy. It's like, I'll put it out there. It's increased pricing and here it is. If you want it, great. If you don't, no problem. The one time I did try to really advocate for an increase, a title increase and salary increase, they let me go. And that ended up being a very good thing. I had totally outgrown the position and needed to, like get the heck out of where I was comfortable for years and move on. But negotiation sucks. And so I have no idea what to do when it comes to that. And that's an area that I would love to be stronger in. And so anything I can learn from you on this, but like, where do women get so thrown with negotiation?
A lot of negotiation has been publicized badly in media. A lot of it is high stakes, high octane, and it's really not. It's about having a conversation, and it's about saying, what is it that you're looking for, and how can I help? And this is what I'm looking for, and this is how you can help me. And a lot of it is back to self-worth and self-esteem. So if you feel good about, and Julie, I think you feel good about, this is the value I'm providing. You can heal through working with me. You can find your voice. If you value that, you will not hesitate to say, and I think you got there. You won't say that this costs $5,000 or $20,000, whatever it is. You believe in it. And it's not because you're saying, oh, I'm going to win at your cost. It's the value I'm providing. So a lot of it is mindset, and which is why I love talking to people like yourself, entrepreneurs, people who are coaches, because that's what they're working on. And it's all about people. So I love the intersection of it.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I think that the perspective and the framing we have is just really about it. I mean, it's everything. And we sometimes within the work of thought leadership, when I'm sitting down and I'm trying to help someone change, it's not easy to say, hey, go change. Okay. It's like,
Yeah.
That's difficult. But when we can paint a picture of what could be, often we'll say, well, when you sit down and you're trying to get the thoughts out of your head and put something powerful out there, it's not like, who do you watch and look at who can do that really well? Like, who's maybe just a little bit ahead of you? If you're working at an organization, who's maybe like someone in charge that's a woman that does walk into a room really confidently or present herself really confidently in a way that doesn't overwhelm others or something like that. And we imagine who that is and what would she be like when she sits down to do thought leadership. And it can help to have a model for what it does look like.
Mm-hmm. And then it's the laps, the reps, like you said. Like once you figure that model out, then you just do the reps.
Practice is everything. Everything.
Yeah, everything.
It's just new muscle memory for so much of this. It's like we want to make it so mysterious. And I tell you, even just very frankly, like sometimes even in therapy, it feels like people will get all of these tools, but they don't have the practice to walk out all the new things that they are learning. And so whether it is public speaking, whether it is how to be more confident, whatever that thing is that you want, until you get your reps in. It's like my kids. Right now, they're 10 and 12. When they were like age 6, even 5, I wanted them to learn how to use their voice and just practice. So we would go to Starbucks and they would watch me order whatever the thing was. And it's loud, it's busy, it's hard to hear even for a grown-up. Sometimes you're shouting across espresso machines to ask for water. And so my little ones would walk in with me and I would say, they'd ask for my order. And then I would turn to my daughter and I would say, okay, what would you like? And they would have to learn how to send their voice from where they were across the cash register. And you better believe it took like 25 times or something for them to be heard. And so we would try again. And then, they have me there to rescue them before they get embarrassed and freaked out completely. But now they can walk in by themselves, walk straight up and say, can I get a venti water, please? And like eye contact, send the voice. It just makes me so pleased because it took me many years. I still don't like ordering at Starbucks. I'd rather mobile order, even if I'm sitting there, because I don't like asking for what I want, but I'm practicing. Getting more confident, just doing the thing, whatever the thing is stopping you, find a way to practice. It gets easier every time.
It's so true. Even in the people I've spoken to, you just have to get over that. Is it inertia? Is it fear? You have to define it for yourself. And once you define it, you can do something about it. That's kind of like that moment. Yeah. Switching gears a little bit, you talked about a personal brand. Could you give us, our listeners, some pointers as to what a personal brand story could look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So a personal brand is simply the vehicle for your thought leadership. Like your thought leadership needs to get delivered in such a way that it's how it looks, how it sounds, what's the tone, what's the style. For me, a lot of my tone, a lot of the way that I want to come across is warm and friendly and lighthearted and totally like a coach. That's how it always comes out. That's true to me. If it's not you, you're going to quit. Whatever the thing is you're trying to have a personal brand for, you'll stop as soon as it's not fun, because there's so much pressing at all of us that we will cut out the things that we don't have the energy for. But also, it's just because you want to represent who you would be if someone were meeting you on the street. If it's super weird and disconnected, like that doesn't sound like you at all. Like you don't even talk like that. Why would you create content that sounded like that? But it's how it makes people feel too. I want you to feel empowered. I want you to feel like, okay, I could do that. Yeah, I could do that. That's my goal. So a personal brand is just the dressing around it, or just how it all comes together. If you're wondering about what it is, though, what I can tell you is this. I didn't really have a personal brand defined until a couple years ago. I was already those things, but you don't need one. You can still go be a thought leader and have your stuff go out there in such a way that it does win you clients, get you the job, keep you the job. It just gives you a little bit more of a framework to go from. Anything that stops you from going to share your ideas, your insights widely, you need to address, because otherwise you don't want it to hold you back.
When you do personal branding,
Mhm.
does it mean when you talk to somebody, are there words that come into your mind every time, or does it have to be that obvious, or does it have to be more subtle?
It's maybe a little bit of both. It does help if you have some personal, like some things that are like talking points that are just you. So if you do have that chance for an elevator pitch in a room, you want to be ready to know what to say about you. But you also want to be you. It helps me be a little bit more comfortable just when I, back to Starbucks. If I walk in sweats that day, I'm still me. It's like if Beyonce walks in sweats into Starbucks, she's still her, but she's just dressed down a little bit. You just know how you're going about doing this work of telling people who you are. So it's a little bit outward, it's a little bit inward, but the biggest benefits aren't the outward ones, they're the inward ones. It's because a lot of thought leaders will not put themselves out there because of something like, for example, well, my profile photo is so old. My profile photo is so old. I don't have colors. What do I do about that? And it's like, well, who cares? And let's go anyway.
Yeah. Your podcast with Samara Bay was talking about how are you when you're feeling safe? I think that's your personal brand, maybe. Am I right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like when you feel safe, meaning like you feel like, okay, this room that I'm in, it is for me. It is not trying to get me, tear me down, not believe in me. And so it's like when you go out with close girlfriends and you're maybe dolled up a little bit. It's you looking your best, feeling your best. It could be as simple as that.
I hadn't posted in LinkedIn forever because it was just so daunting. There's so many. But once I started doing it, I don't even think about it twice. I just post. And it's about things that I believe other people could benefit from. And for me, maybe that's my personal brand, like service.
Absolutely. I love that. So if you just aim to serve, I call it like serve at scale, right? It's like you don't need to do anything else but go help you 5 years ago, 10 years ago. That's it. That's all you've got to worry about. The rest it gets figured out as you go. You, right? Like, what it was like to be you. Less network, less resource, more pressure. What can you do to shorten the journey for her? Mentorship is looked upon really happily by everyone around you. If I go and try to do something really simple on LinkedIn, hey, you know what a personal brand is? It's just this. That's all it is. That establishes a ton of trust with people, even who already know it. So in your area, if you can break down something complex about negotiation, it's almost like you're just showing people you care. We want to work with, partner with, hire the people that care.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
On LinkedIn, Julie, what maybe top 2 or 3 things you would suggest people do after they hear this podcast? Go do these 2 or 3 things.
I would say if you are brand new to thought leadership, if you have never felt comfortable putting yourself out there on LinkedIn, that's a bummer. We want you to feel really comfortable, confident when you're on LinkedIn. It's like in thought leadership, there's so many things you could do. Speaking, writing, doing all this other stuff, but you don't want to go without a pretty decent plan for LinkedIn. I spend about 10% of my time on my personal thought leadership. It is the thing that has brought me clients, brought purpose, brought fun, brought a wonderful tribe to do life with. The impact is massive. If you could find a couple people on LinkedIn that write content that makes you go, ooh, that was good. That was really interesting. I really like how they did that. And use it as a model for you sharing your insights. So number 1, figure out a simple, tiny plan for your own LinkedIn activity. It opens up so many doors I can't even begin to describe. And then the next one would be, don't overthink it. Oh my gosh, the number of posts that I know are deleted before they're even shared. Backspace. I'll just do it later. It kills me. It's such a bummer, and it's not necessary. Truly, you get so much better at it as you start, but your feet have to be moving. But then for the love of all things, don't overthink it. Just go for it.
We think everybody hears us instantly, but there's like over 4 billion people on the internet. I mean, even if you mess up, it's not that big of a deal.
Absolutely. I mean, that LinkedIn post may not be seen by that many people, but I found a spreadsheet the other day from, I think, 2021. First started sharing on LinkedIn, 10 impressions, 20, 50, 80, and like it just goes up from there. But I wouldn't have gotten to a couple thousand for a post today if I hadn't started there. So the only way through it is through it.
Just go in sloppy. At least you're there. You started the fight. The rest you'll figure out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Other than the LinkedIn, what advice do you have for somebody who's in that inertia zone?
I think you have to go back to this place of just deciding that you're going to stop listening to fear. You're going to stop wondering and worrying about what people think. There is a bell curve of everybody who could possibly be out there. On the, if it's an upside down U, on this bottom side is this group of people that will never support you anyway. They don't want to hear from you. They don't like you. They're not going to support you. It's so okay. And then you've got like the 70%, all the way down to like your most rabid fans kind of thing. They are all excited to hear from you. We should be focused on them, not on this group that doesn't care anyway. Doesn't like you, doesn't care. It's okay. Let them. And put your focus where it needs to be. There is this long lineage of people that have come before us. I had a great-great-great-grandmother, I think, that died of gangrenous appendicitis. I mean, I can't even imagine what that would have been like, right? And she was like 28 and passed away. All these women that have come before me to put me in here in this moment where I can have a podcast with someone and get to know you and send my insights out there across the world. There's never been a more amazing time to be alive and to go build the thing you want. Sometimes the people closest to you are going to have the most opinions about why you shouldn't do it, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It's like, take the reins of your own life. We have to now go and be the CEO of, Dorothy Inc., of Julie Inc. There's no employer that's here to take care of you. Yes, you may have a job, but like really, they could drop you whenever it's easy. You have to look out for you. And if you go and do thought leadership, if you learn how to use your voice and advocate for yourself, you're being a good CEO. Get your eggs in more than one basket and go take advantage of your voice, your platform, and the chance to build something amazing.
I love it. That's definitely a great place to stop. But I do have one more question.
Sure.
This is so inspiring, Julie. I really love it. When I hear you, I feel like, why is anybody stopping from speaking up, from advocating for themselves? We just need to put you on repeat.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that you said in one of your podcasts or in your newsletter, it's risky to not differentiate. And that was really powerful for me, but I want you to expand on it a little bit if you would.
Yeah.
Especially because a lot of people, when they contemplate thought leadership, go, I don't have anything special to say. Everything's already been said. Connect the two and kind of give us a message, what you would say to that.
When I say it's risky to hide, imagine this. Imagine there's a crowd of 100 people who do the same thing as you. And all of a sudden, you step away. You step out of the crowd and say something just moderately interesting, while everyone else behind you is quiet, silent. It is risky to be in that group. That's scary. That takes away all the power you have to tell people how great you are. And so we want you to not have that fear and not have that apprehension about sharing. And so if you can take what you know and put it out there, what you also get to keep in mind and what the new very massive recent shifts in the LinkedIn algorithm are looking for is you to speak from this wonderful, absolutely beautiful, unique intersection that is you and your voice. So nobody else in the world had come from where you've come from. When they look out the window right now, they're not seeing what you're seeing. They didn't have your expertise exactly. All have a windy road that got us to where we are today. And with that windy road and all your passions and all your interests and everything that makes you you, your same stuff, the same thoughts, even if it was the same as 5 other people, those people are not you, and you are not them. And your audience is not their audience. You don't show up on LinkedIn for anybody except who you're there to serve. And who is watching you, they're not going to learn from other people the same way they will from you. Everyone has a unique voice. End of story.
Our goals after this podcast is to develop a tiny plan on how we're going to show up on LinkedIn.
Yes.
We don't overthink it, and then we bring our authentic voice. Would you say that sums it up? Would you add anything?
I love it. No, that's wonderful.
Okay. Well, Julie, thank you so much. You've given us a lot of inspiration today. Would love to have you back as we progress on this podcast to get more thoughts on how you can do even better, shine even more on LinkedIn.
Oh, I'd love that. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for the work you do. It is crucial work around negotiation. Can't wait to continue learning from you as well. Thank you.
Absolutely, Julie. There you have it, my friends. Some practical, actionable insights on how to build your brand and build your network on LinkedIn. This becomes very important in salary negotiations because when you create a brand, a voice, a thought leadership presence on a powerful platform like LinkedIn, you become an irresistible force for people who need to hear your message. It also, interestingly, builds your BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. If you follow my podcast, you know a BATNA is very important to gain leverage and power in negotiations. Basically, it's your option that you can fall back to if your negotiations fail. If you have a strong presence on LinkedIn, a powerful voice, a thought leadership, and a following, your BATNA is pretty much unlimited. Follow the tips that Julie provides today. Create your authentic voice and your following, and you will not look back. Good luck. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.